I looked over and I said, you got an awful lot closer. I could, is Charlene?
Yeah, she's not here. Good evening, everyone. I'm Janet Anderson. I call to order the Town of Lewisboro Planning Board meeting for Tuesday, March 19th, 2024 at 7:30 p.m. So for everyone, the exit is the way you came in. The exits to my left are for emergency only. In order to comply with the open meetings law, we must meet in person, and we don't have the capability for the public to attend by Zoom, nor can we stream our meeting to YouTube. But we will post an audio recording of this meeting to the website as soon as possible after the meeting. All the materials that are considered at this meeting are available in the agenda packet that's posted on the Town of Lewisboro website for this meeting. And members of the public can always express their views by mail or by email to planning@lewisborogov.com. Kirsten Conrad, our Planning Board Administrator, has confirmed that the meeting has been duly noticed and legal notice requirements fulfilled. Joining me tonight from the Town of Lewisboro are members of the Planning Board, Paul Fusco, John Guzmano, Bruce Thompson. Charlene and Delicato cannot be here tonight, but we do have a quorum, and thus we can conduct the business of the board and vote on the matters that come before us. We also have our consultant, Jan Johannesson from KSCJ, and Council Judge Siebert. And CAC Chair John Wolf, the building inspector, may or may not join us. So with that, on our agenda tonight, one of the items we had for discussion that I thought with the agreement of the board I would bring forward, which is the discussion about how to handle the public hearing notice process. What has happened in the past is that has been something that basically the town has done and then the town has paid for. And with going from our old record review to the Journal News, the price has more than tripled. And we've discovered that most towns actually charge the applicants for doing that. So because we may have some public hearings coming up tonight, that we thought that, I thought that I would bring this forward. And what I think we could do is just ask that the applicant, right now Kirsten gives them what the public hearing form should look like, and have them post it in the Journal News, and then give us an affidavit that they have done that, and perhaps a copy of the newspaper clipping. That's what we do when we say, you must send out notices by certified mail. So I think letting the applicant handle it and pay for it keeps it from having to be something that we have to go to the town board and get added to the fee schedule or anything. It's just very simple. We don't have to do it and get reimbursed. It's just simple.
Administration.
So I think we can do this by a motion.
Yeah.
If you have any questions or anything about it?
I'm thinking about it.
Thinking about it?
But
It's not an uncommon method of publishing notices, actually to have the applicant take care of it, both the publication and the mailing. And then they simply provide Kirsten with 2 affidavits, one of publication, which if you're with the Journal News in particular, they do this all the time, and then an affidavit with regard to the certified mailings.
So, and I think,
sign,
yeah, and in talking with Jan, he also said this was, we have both of our esteemed colleagues who say this is a pretty typical.
The applicant paying for the.
Applicant paying for the.
But did they also print, they make all the arrangements with the paper?
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, the only, I used to do it in Rye all the time, and the only other adding on that, you would give the stamp register receipt.
Yeah, right,
That's
which
about
they-
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
which they do now.
It's common.
for
yeah.
Right. So I'd look for a motion to,
And the other point is, the form of the public notice, the text of the public, is something that Kirsten prepares, runs by me. So that's done
Yeah.
by us, but then it's
Just-
just handed.
And the list of,
Yeah.
the list of properties to be noticed
Right.
for the mailing is produced by the town, isn't it?
yeah,
Applicant,
Applicant. So they go into Lisa's office and they,
they
okay.
should.
okay, so,
I'll make a motion that we transfer the administration of that to the applicant from the town, or the planning board,
And
Okay.
the fee.
and the fee.
I'll second.
seconded by Paul. Any further discussion? All in favor? So I guess we should probably let the town know that we're doing this, the town board. So do I need a motion to write a letter to that effect?
If you're gonna issue a letter to the town board, I prefer the board authorize you to do so. Just notifying them of the change.
Okay, can we do that by amending the prior motion or another
Just
motion?
second motion, then.
Second motion, okay. So I'd like a motion to say that with the help of our consultants, I'll write a letter telling the town board that we've decided to change this process.
So moved.
So moved, okay, by Bruce.
I'll second it.
Seconded by John. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. Thank you, and thank you for allowing me to move that to the beginning of the agenda. Now, we have a continuation of a public hearing of the Wolf Conservation Center, calendar number 06-17PB, calendar number 43-23WP, and calendar number 18-23SW. This is for the Wolf Conservation Center on Buck Run in South Salem, New York. They have a couple more things to do, including getting on the ZBA agenda, which they are on for next week, and working on the pump test. They tell us they continue to make good progress, but they asked us to adjourn till April 16th. So unless there's a member of the public here to address it, okay, with the agreement of the board, we'll just adjourn this till April 16th.
Now, will they have to, with the public hearing, will they have to put a new notice out for that?
No, because it's a
It's a
continuation.
continuation, yeah.
Yeah, so just the format of this is it goes out once, and then if we close it, it's done. If we continue it, because we announce it in the public meeting, and it's in the minutes, we don't have to renotice. The second item on the agenda is an extension of time request, calendar number 08-14PB, calendar number 95-14WP, calendar number 20-14SW. This is the Goldens Bridge Village Center, New York State, Route 22, Goldens Bridge, New York. And this is a site development plan approval, wetland activity permit approval, and town stormwater permit that was granted for modifications to the existing shopping center. Is there someone here? Come on up.
I didn't understand when you were reading. My name is Ralph Tribula. Yes. I represent Steve Sipes, the owner of the shopping center, and they would like the extension because he hasn't been able to secure financing for the development.
So the financing was for, the approval that we gave was for a daycare
Correct.
and retail and professional offices. Is that still on the
Right.
table at all?
That, it might be on the table. There were a couple of different ideas now. Okay, one is still holds true with the daycare center, and the offices, quite honestly, I'm not sure because they're just maybe the residential. Okay, we're inclined to do residential there.
Because we did see an alternate proposal that just had, I think it just had residential.
Residential,
Right.
correct. You saw that about 18 months ago, maybe? Somewhere around
Yeah, somewhere
that.
around then,
And
yeah.
there you go. Yes, right. And again, he hasn't been able to secure the financing, and that's why everything came to a halt.
Okay. So this was approved, I think way back in 2014, and then it got
That
reapproved.
was before my time,
Yeah.
yes.
And I'm a little, I want to hear what the rest of the board says, but we haven't seen any movement on this, and I'm wondering if if it's really something that is going to go forward. We tend to give extensions, but, I don't know if it's really your plan at all.
And considering shifting to residential, wouldn't that be a change in use?
Yeah,
So
well,
that's all.
they would have to bring a new
It
plan.
would be a new plan.
It would be a new plan that they would bring forward.
And this is the letter we received that said that they're speaking with an architect to develop plans? Is that the same Golden's Bridge shopping center, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't here for the original approval, but hearing what it is, I would be reluctant to give an extension, because it sounds like it's going to be very different.
I mean, I think what so I'm going to say, we would love to see something happen there. And I know there's sort of a partially constructed area excavation happened, some of the hill got cut away. We would love to see some development there. But I don't think that this plan that we approved, from everything I've heard, is likely, we saw something different the last time. I don't know.
What's the downside if we don't, for the applicant, if we don't grant an extension at this point?
Unless they're going to build the exact plan that you reviewed in 2014 and has been extended and reapproved a couple of times, they would have to come here for a site plan amendment. So unless you're prepared to build that plan, which doesn't sound
Doesn't
it
sound
sounds like there's going to be some changes that are coming back to you anyway. So
It
I
could
don't
have
know that there's a real-
even with the daycare, because there is somebody that keeps on coming around and,
yeah, but now the approval's so old, you have almost an entirely new board. We reviewed this in 2014.
you ever knew me too. I
Yeah,
wasn't
no,
here too.
yeah.
I mean,
A lot of things have changed.
I know that the residential is what is allowed on the property.
But the old plan didn't include
There
any
was no
residential.
residential.
The old plan didn't include any residential.
What you have approved is a daycare
All right,
center,
that would have to
office
be a
lot.
change of use.
Right.
But it would
Well-
have to come back to the planning board, so
Right.
what the board is saying was, what's the purpose of extending the old plan when you want to build something different? Even if it's in the same footprint of the old,
In the same footprint.
yeah, it's still another, because the parking's going to be different, the septic's going to be different, everything's going to be evaluated differently if it's a different use, you know what I mean? So I don't think there's a real advantage to you or the board to extend it. It's just, you're extending a plan that's never going to really come to fruition.
I'm not here to tell you something that I don't know. What I know is that the residential is, it can be done there in terms of the septic. The septic
Yeah,
would be,
right.
we use
It's an allowable
exactly-
use, but it's
an
not what the board
allowable
approves.
use, and the septic fits with the residential and so forth. And this is all I know.
So if you were to bring a residential plan forward, we would basically throw out what we've got here and start all over. So I think continuing to extend something, I'll just say, I mean, we've done that. We tend to extend things when there's progress being made on the,
I understand.
and people say, this is our plan and we're going after it.
I understand.
But when we hear that we think something would be different,
It could be different.
I have only one other question, and maybe you guys can answer that. If they do not have an application in front of the board, does that affect them getting their financing? You know, some deals, they want to have something in the works already that says, we'll basically allow you to do something, even if the plan's not clear, versus having to go start from scratch.
everything I know about financing would say you would want to see what the plan was before you gave approval. And so,
I didn't mean from our side, I meant,
No, no.
I meant from
as a
sponsor or whatever.
as an ex-finance person.
Okay. I defer to you.
No, I mean, I'm just,
Yeah. Then we,
it would be, I mean, like, you could go and, all right, let's say you're saying, I need a car loan, and I'm either going to buy a Maserati or a Volkswagen, but I'm not sure. I mean, I think people would say, well, we'll give you some money, but you have to come back to us, you know, so I don't think it really helps.
then we should not grant an extension?
Yes,
What about, I mean, this is the first we're hearing about this, right? That they, you got you're exploring this with the intention of possibly doing it, correct?
Well, we're supposed to do something last year, which I was involved, but the deal that we were on it fell through. The people backed out. Or else at this point, I would be here with the extension on something that you already see that was being done, right? Construction was supposed to start last year, at the beginning of last year. The deal that we are going fell through, and now the owner again was thinking to do some residential, and he was looking around for financing, and in lieu of that, he's asking for, if it is possible, for another extension.
right. So what we had seen before was a daycare center and some professional offices and some retail. They came, I want to say about a year and a half ago, in with a alternate plan to show us residential on both the north end and the south end of the sort of existing thing that's there. And we said, okay, yes, bring us, you know, let's go and we'll get it. So that one, so if they go to that, they'd have to show us a whole new
Right.
set of plans.
So,
I might not be
What-
answering your question.
no, I get that, but nobody wants to like think, okay, I have nothing now, and I'm going back to the starting point. What if this extension period were used for purposes of making a decision? And if you don't use it, that's the end of it.
Right, I mean, we can certainly extend it. That's sort of been what we've been doing.
But that goes on ad infinitum, and,
Right.
yeah.
We could kind of make it like, okay, we'll do it this time, but
This
don't
is
come
it.
back in a year
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
without a plan.
all right. And what, 2-year extension can we give?
I
Well,
would keep it tight.
I would keep it.
I mean,
Yeah,
but
I
that's
would
what
like
we
3
can
months.
give.
Yeah, I would keep like a 3-month. You know,
Yeah.
you
A
have
3-month?
Yeah.
Make them make a decision,
Yeah.
tell us what.
Okay.
Well.
6
you
months?
have the
What do you guys
flexibility- Yeah, you have the flexibility to shape the
Right.
timeframe of the extension.
Right,
But the extension couldn't, if it's an extension, it's limited, right? If it's a reapproval, it comes with a new time.
yes,
right, right.
So is this an extension or a reapproval?
It would be an extension.
It's an
So
extension.
then it's limited to is it the 290s? I'm trying to think.
For site plan.
The site plan, I want to say we were doing this for a year at a
Yeah,
time.
I think you can go up to a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Want to
But
give them
it's
6
not-
months?
It's not mandated that it be a 1-year increment, but you can go up to a year.
The original plan had development in front of the existing buildings and parking areas. Is any of that done or started or?
It was to the
The
north.
streetscape work got
Yeah.
completed.
Okay, so it won't affect any of,
No,
The
they did
existing
the
uses.
streetscape work right away.
okay.
They didn't, there was some building facade improvements that never got done, but like all the sidewalk work got done right away.
Okay. So it won't hold up any of those businesses by, because if we pulled this,
No,
then the
no,
building.
I don't
Yeah,
think,
it won't.
I don't think it.
Okay,
But I'd also recommend that we just, or Kevin puts his eyes on the northern end construction site and just make sure that that's tidy and secure, and, because you're gonna be living with that for a while.
okay. All right, so
Yeah.
6 months?
Yeah, that's a compromise.
All right. Anybody want to make a motion to
For,
extend for 6 months?
I'd go for
You
that.
do that, okay. Do I have a second?
Sure.
Paul? Any further discussion?
But with the understanding that we're going to get a decision coming back about, you're either
I
going,
understand, right.
because
Right.
that's
get
what's
it.
moving me to say, yes,
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
great. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
So 6-month
6 months.
extension, let us know what you want to do.
Very
And we,
well.
if
Thank
you
you
bring
very
in
much.
something, we will, I mean, the shopping center is really important to the town. We will do what we can to move whatever you want done as quickly as possible through.
Okay.
Okay? Good,
Thank you very much.
thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is calendar number 02-20PB. This is the Mandia Residences at 65 Old Bedford Road, Goldens Bridge, New York. There was we actually converted, you converted a building into apartments. This is, that it is now completed, and you have asked us for a final release of the apartments construction performance bond.
That is correct, Madam Chairman. And I must say, as a taxpayer, I applaud the motion you folks made earlier. As an applicant, I wish I were here last month.
I understand, but it was actually that had us jump it to the front. And I'm sorry, but somebody has to be the first
No,
one.
that's not a problem at all.
Okay. I'm sorry. Probably for the record, could you just give us your name?
Sure, it's Bruce Mandia, Mandia, 32 Mandia Lane, Goldens Bridge, New York.
Thank you. Okay, so this is still the process where we have to go and ask the town board for permission to handle this. So we will do, we will ask them for permission to
Conduct a public hearing.
conduct the public hearing and to make a decision. So the other thing we typically do, though, is ask Jan to go out and do an inspection of the site and see if it's in accordance
Before you would release money, yes.
right. So if I get concurrence of the board to ask Jan to do that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Is that on notice to me and tenants?
Yeah,
or
we
just-
can absolutely coordinate that.
Sure.
You want to give me a ring this week and we can set up a time?
I'll call you at the office.
Sure.
Yeah, it's an inspection of sort of the public infrastructure. It's not, you know,
Apartments.
soup to nuts,
Yeah, we're not
but,
going inside.
Yeah, but
Right.
whatever you need. That's all.
right,
Okay.
yeah. And I know this isn't really our business, but it's all rented. You're happy with how it came
Yeah,
out?
it looks beautiful. Actually, I did, this is all, on the record, obviously, but there was the old, those Lewisboro signs, little Chippendale things that was kind of falling apart and very moldy. Had it redone with, now it says the schoolhouse at Old Bedford.
Oh,
so
neat.
Maintain the essence of Lewisboro there.
Good.
So I think that-
Wonderful,
But it
thank
looks
you.
great, but thank you for asking.
Okay, so I'd like a motion from someone to allow us to send a letter to the town board asking them to provide us with the authority to schedule a public hearing and to handle the administration or the return of the release of the performance bond. Bruce made that motion?
So moved.
Okay.
Seconded.
John seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. That motion passes. And can we now schedule the public hearing in
Yeah,
anticipation?
Anticipation, yeah.
So schedule the public hearing for April 16th, if people agree? That is our next meeting. Yep,
And
okay?
they'll be doing the
Yes.
Yeah, I've already spoken to Kristen earlier today. so-
someone's going to be number one.
Someone's got to be
Yep.
first.
Right, thank you.
I'll let you know how it goes.
How it works, right.
Yeah, happy spring, yeah, right.
you
Okay,
very much.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is the special use permit renewal. This is for calendar number 6-01 PB, T-Mobile Wireless Communications at the Leon Levy Preserve New York State Route 35 and New York State 123, South Salem, New York, and an application for a special use permit approval renewal for the T-Mobile facility.
Hi, for the record, my name is David Kenny. I'm an attorney with Snyder & Snyder. I'm here tonight to represent the applicant T-Mobile. The application is just that. It's just a reapproval, a renewal of the special permit. There's no proposed changes to the facility, no proposed work.
Okay. I think at this, we do usually set up another public hearing, so you'll be number 2. All right, but I think one of the, as we looked at the documents, some of them seem to be a couple years old. Is there, well, I'm going to ask Jan maybe to.
Yeah, and I spoke to David earlier today, and he acknowledged that we'll get updated RF compliance report, structural report.
And as-built drawings.
An as-built drawing. So I think that's on the way.
It took them a while to get this application put together, so as the reports came out, that's the reports, but we can absolutely update it. I think that's a reasonable request. To that point, though, I think we're going to need some time to update them. So if we are going to schedule a public hearing, I'd look for it to be in the May monthly meeting rather than April, just to give us a little extra time to get those reports over to Jan, and then also go through this new public hearing notice process.
Okay. So I think the other thing we usually do is, again, if the board agrees, we would ask Jan to inspect the site and make sure that it's, you know, in still what you said it is, right?
Good standing.
Right, okay. So again, the board agrees to do that? Okay, so we would then have a public hearing, and I just looked it up, May 21st. Thank you. So May 21st would be the date. We all agree?
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I'll
We'll
be in
see-
touch with Kirsten regarding the public notice requirements.
Right, great. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Okay, the next item on our agenda is site development plan reviews. The first one is calendar number 18-22 PB. This is Bishan LLC at 876 Route 35 in Cross River, New York. We did get a building inspector letter that said that the proposed use is not compliant with the zoning in the area, and the applicant came to us and asked that, requested an adjournment because they anticipate appealing that. So we would, that would, presumably we'll see it when they have finished that appeal, if successful. So the next item on the agenda is calendar number 02-24 PB. This is the Tacona Katina, which is a mouthful for me anyway, at Goldens Bridge Village Center, New York State Route 22, Goldens Bridge, New York. This is an application for a change of use from retail to restaurant.
Yes.
Hello.
Hi, board members.
Could you give us?
My name is David Chung, and yes, I constructed, finished building a restaurant in the old video store. I thought we were finished until I realized that we had never applied for the change of use before you guys. So here I am.
I know, I'm sorry, we will do our best. But, so I understand you've gotten,
appreciate it.
like, Department of Health approval already, and,
Yes, I think that was a while ago. It took a while. So at this point, I'm hiring Ed Delaney at Bibos Associates to do the parking. I think that's all that's really left is the parking, because I just looked at I can find it here. The code, I guess, goes from retail or dry to wet, and it's, I think, double the capacity. It goes from video store, it was 8, now it's 16, but I'm not sure of the calculations, so.
Are you talking about parking spaces?
Yes.
yeah.
I think that's really all that's left there at the center. So,
So from some history of the center, we do, as I recall, they're a little tight on parking, and what what Ed might have to do is show that different uses have different hours of operation, so that, the
Sure, yes, exactly.
So
Exactly.
Right.
I'll leave it up to him, I can't figure it
Right.
out.
So
I can talk to you about food and service and.
I know, I've
and the
heard,
different tacos that I'll be serving. But, right, I know early in the morning, there's very little. In the afternoon, there's a lot. Then dinner time, there's really not much there, so I know I'll leave it up to him.
right,
But it will be a full-service restaurant. There's counter serve as well. I live in the neighborhood, so about 2 miles away, so I'm looking forward to serving the community and having, kids menu and so on and so forth. And
it sounds like,
AM and PM later on, glass of wine, maybe some tequila.
okay. So there are a couple things. So did we get anything about, what your business and hours of operation might be? I don't know if we got that. Do you-
Yes, I believe, so it's a full-service Mexican restaurant. I will be open from 10 to 10, let's say, and probably no later than that. Even with a full liquor license, I won't be open later than that. And it's 25 seats, it's about 1,600 square feet. Most of it is kitchen. It'll be a casual counter serve, no reservations, first come, first serve. What's great about that is that other people kind of jockey for position for the table. So, if you're almost done and other people are waiting for the table, you're going to get up and you're going to
Right,
get the message,
right.
so, which is great. It's primarily tacos, quesadillas, burritos. There'll be, for dinner, there'll be some entrees, but it'll be 3/4 entrees. They won't be full entrees. The idea is to be easy on the wallet, budget-friendly. Maybe not a 16-ounce cocktail, but a 12-ounce cocktail, and price it accordingly.
Okay. So, one of the questions that we need to have answered, if this is a full service, if you, the building inspector, decides that it's a full-service restaurant, we don't need a public hearing. But if it's a limited service carryout, because you have more than 10 seats, we would need to have a public hearing. So,
I can produce a memo for the board, but I can tell the board now that I believe this is a full-service restaurant at the end of the day.
that just helps us tonight
Yeah.
decide what we have to do. So if that's, and I appreciate
Yeah, I
that.
apologize, I missed Jan's memo, so if I had seen it, I would have produced it before this, yeah.
Oh, Jan, nice to meet you. I think I've
He is
spoken
Jan.
over
The man.
over the years.
Sure.
Okay, so, so that says, given that we don't need a public hearing, I don't know if, we feel that there's a need for one. So perhaps we can ask for a resolution assuming that the parking gets resolved, or do we need to wait and see the parking calculations before we can?
Well, I think you're free to schedule the hearing. We definitely need, oh, no, you don't need a hearing.
Don't need a hearing.
So, yeah, that's the only open item. It looked like everything was done with the health department. If you need a sign, you'll have to go to ACART for the sign.
Oh, no, there's no, my lease doesn't change the sign, so it's already up.
Okay, so you're done with the sign?
Yeah.
So it's the parking evaluation.
Yeah.
As I recall, as you mentioned, I believe the center is short on parking. When you look at all the different uses that are there and compare those uses to the parking regulations, there's not enough parking from a zoning perspective. Doesn't mean there's not enough parking from a
In
practical
reality,
perspective,
right.
but from a zoning perspective. So if you're comparing the video store to the restaurant has more parking demand, as it probably would.
We're used to.
Or used to. But you
Or
have to go back to
you
the
hope
last
it
I
has.
few
remember
years, right?
waiting
Right.
for that video to
Yeah,
come
right.
back.
Yeah. In the 80s.
Yeah.
You know, if the restaurant has a greater parking demand, then you have to then go and evaluate the other uses. So what Ed's gonna have to do is he's gonna look at the center,
Mhm.
he's gonna look at every tenant and
Right.
figure out what their parking regulation is. Find out what is required from a zoning perspective, say it's 200 parking spots, I'm just making up
Sure.
numbers.
Yeah.
But you only have 150, well, there's a 50 space shortfall.
Mhm.
There's provisions in the code for the board to deal with that, especially when you have a site that has multiple uses on one property based on peak hours of demand and hours of operation. But then it's up to him to demonstrate to the board, well, you know, this business is, you know, has the highest peak demand in the morning, this one's busier in the evening, and
Right.
and he kind of tells the story that this will all, you know, that
Right.
there'll be sufficient parking during your peak demands on the site. But
Right.
he's got to do that evaluation for the board.
Yeah.
But there are parameters in the code for the board to deal with this without having to go, like, get a variance or something like that.
Okay.
Right.
That's
And
good to know.
I think maybe if you talk to Kirsten, she might have the magic to discover the one that was done back when we did the approval of Golden's Bridge. It isn't exactly the same because they were building the, you know, a new parking lot together with the kids' daycare center and everything. But it would give you an example or add an example of,
Yeah, and Ed worked on that
He probably
project.
did work on that one, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so, you
The
know.
hardest thing is just to get him.
Yeah, he might not remember.
He's semi-retired, he
Yeah,
tells
yeah.
you right off the bat.
Right. Okay, so can we ask you to write at least write a resolution, and we might have to fit in the parking at the meeting, or is that impossible to do?
no, I could start it, for sure. It's just, that's the only issue, really, is the parking. So we need that answer before you can.
Right, because I saw on Facebook you were hoping to open this month, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
This is- Okay, so we will, consensus of the board to ask Jan to start the resolution, or to write the resolution, and we'll see how it goes?
Yeah, so if it gets placed on the next agenda, we just need Ed to be able to prepare something so that it's submitted a week or so ahead of the meeting.
Yeah, it would be great if we could get it, wait, March 26th, that's pretty early, but tell them.
I will.
Yes, okay, good, thank you.
I'll go to the office,
Okay,
have to bring him lunch.
great. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. And thank you, I know you didn't have a memo, but thanks for giving us the decision.
No, I mean,
No, that's exactly what we needed. Okay, the next item on the agenda is calendar number 06-23PB, Double H Farm, Reed Subdivision, 20 Boutonville Road South, 20 Boutonville Road South, Cross River, New York. And this is an application for subdivision and the establishment of a private writing academy.
Good evening.
Hi.
I'm Charles Martivano. I represent the applicant, Double H Farms LLC. With me tonight, I have Rich Williams.
Rich.
One thing I want to do at the very beginning is I wrote in the presentation letter of the glowing biographical description of Quentin Casey and, Quentin James and Casey Harrison, and then completely
Didn't-
forgot to attach it. So I think the best thing to do is just hand this over, and then it can be distributed to the board members, so you have it.
Perfect, yes.
Thank you.
Give it to Kirsten, we'll get there. Okay.
Okay, all right, so I'll give you some background, all of which is covered in the letter, and then I think Rich will help illustrate these things so you can have a good look at it. You probably know the property as, thank you, okay, when it was owned by Lee Vogelstein. It's now been acquired by Double H Farms. It's 61.4 acres, and it's 20 Boutonville Road. Primarily located in the town of Lewisboro, we have 44, if you could put that Lewisboro parcel, if you would, Rich?
I'm sorry.
Right, 44 acres roughly, and in the town of Pound Ridge we have 17.2 acres. So as you pointed out, Chairman, this is an application to effectuate what I call a lot line adjustment, but it's a minor subdivision. We get to take two parcels That's what about, that one's about 4.4 acres, that's about 2.5 acres. And to attach it to that property owned by the Reeds, this is not a subdivision that's going to create any new lots. This is going to be attached and merged to the Reed parcel. Now, the balance of Lewisboro property, which is about 37 acres, I believe, we want to have a private riding academy, as you mentioned when you read the description. Now, in terms of the riding academy itself, it's going to be I guess the best way to describe it is, if you look into the background of the owners and the trainers, this is they're concentrating on what I guess could be called show horses, okay? This is not your normal riding academy where people with board horses come and take them and ride them and whatnot. So these are horses that actually compete in the competitive show circuit, which is basically from May through November. They would be on the property, but from December through April, they're not going to be on the property at all. Now, I say at all. There is a possibility that horses might be there if they're not ready for the competitive show circuit or whatnot, but primarily from December through May, there's virtually nothing that's going on with respect to the property. In point of fact, they take their horses and they relocate them to Florida, and then they compete through the circuit down there. Generally speaking, we would say that 12 to 15 of the 22 horse stalls would be occupied by horses that are owned by Double H Farm, and other horses would be owned by clients, because what Quentin James and Casey Harrison do is they train these horses for the competitive circuit. This is not, again, where people come and visit their horses. They entrust them to these people to train them, and they train them. And if you take a look at the awards that they've won through the presentation that we gave you tonight, they've won the Olympics, they've won gold medal events. They really, really know what they're doing when it comes to doing that. From the point of view of the neighborhood, though, with what we're doing here, where again, we're getting, these two pieces are going to the property adjacent to us, and we're going to have the private riding academy on this thing. It's going to be a very, very low impact use. And because generally speaking, the horses don't leave the property, there's not going to be a lot of traffic impacts, and for the months that I just mentioned, they're not really going to be on the property. So you're going to have a very, very low impact use. As I said, clients entrust their horses to these people to train them, and they train them on site, and when they go on the show circuit, the horses are gone. So it's going to be a very, very low impact use. And we can, if you have any specific questions about it, we'll be happy to answer them.
So just to be clear and get it on the record and in my head correctly, you said from December to May,
right?
They're in Florida, the horses. And
horses actually, and most of the staff also go to Florida.
Okay. Then, whatever, May to November,
right,
or June to November, they're here.
Being trained.
But there's no show season during, I mean...
I think if you take a look at the write-up that I gave you, I said that very, very rarely, there may be shows that they participate in while they're here, and I think I said it would probably be 2 trips a month. That's how limited it would be.
Okay.
And that came directly from their description to me.
Okay.
What about hosting? What about hosting shows?
No. Am I correct? No.
To put context on, the exclusivity and kind of eliteness of this, there isn't even breeding that happens. The breeding of these horses actually takes place in Europe, and then these horses are then brought here. And these are horses specifically targeted for the most elite competition. Pan Am, Olympics, that's the realm we're playing in. So, really the horse community on that show circuit is kind of based out of Florida, particularly Wellington.
Right.
And then what happens seasonally is it gets hot in Florida, they look for training facilities in the Northeast. And Double H has been operating locally. They've actually been across the border in Connecticut and Richfield, seeking to relocate their home here.
Yes.
Does the staff live on
site?
On
Correct.
site?
I think we said there would be 8 staff members on site. Again, that's in the write-up as well.
Right.
As Rich pointed out, they have their existing farm in Wellington, which is sort of like the horse center down in Florida. Again, not that I would know this, but this is what we're told. They had a beautiful farm, as you probably know, in Ned's Road, right, in Richfield.
What road, I'm sorry?
It's on Ned's Road.
Ned's, okay.
What was that? Ned's?
You're right, I have to look it up.
Yeah, okay. Now, they intend to live on this site. They intend to become citizens of Lewisboro and have their facility, and as Rich will explain a little bit more detail, we're looking to do this in 2 phases as regards the Riding Academy. The first phase will be very, very minimal changes so that they can get started in terms of the training. But then the second phase is going to be total renovations of the existing facilities. I don't know if you want to go into, oh, I'm sorry, sure.
It's all right. Will anybody be living on site when it's
Yeah.
just a training facility?
Yes, there's going to be staff members on site. In terms of them, they're moving here, I think that's probably going to be on a house that'll be on the Pound Ridge site.
But at all times, this facility is going to be monitored.
At all times, there'll be a skeleton staff when they're away. I think might be 1 or 2 people. Generally, the staff will be 8 people, okay? But, so there will always be someone monitoring, correct? Because, in fact, as I mentioned, there'll be times when not all the horses that are there will go on the show circuit. A horse could be injured. A horse could just not be ready for competition. So they've got to be monitored and taken care of by staff then. But it'll be a smaller staff than would be if all 22 stalls were filled.
Okay, so, because I was thinking, North Salem has some magnificent show areas. These horses are not going to be going up to North Salem and back, and they're really, I think that's what you told us, they're not going to be shown around here. They're going to be...
As I said, the best information they gave me is that they may go to some shows here. It might be 2 a month. Which, as you know, is very small.
Okay. Okay, and I think you said that the residents of the owners would be on the Pound Ridge side.
Again, that's future plans. We don't
Right.
know just yet. But,
Okay.
what we're able to do here is for the staff.
Okay,
Rich, you
So do you want me to just walk you through the site?
Yes,
plan?
it'd be
good.
And that maybe give you some context. as
by the way,
to-
I forgot to mention, this property is also in the Westchester County Agricultural District. Go ahead, Rich.
So one of the reasons why we're proposing to do this in phases is, obviously, May is approaching, and, Casey and Quentin have to make plans for what happens. So they are planning on bringing their horses to this facility in May. Now, until we get an approval from this board, they obviously can't bring anybody else's horses because they can't operate as a riding academy. That is something they are keenly aware of and have put the focus on Charlie and I to try and make happen in the short term.
okay.
Focus was very kind.
Yes, but that's part of the reason why we're proposing this as a phased solution. The other reason is for the type of horses that they're training, the existing sand ring, which is located here, is not sufficient in size. So we need to build them a new one. So the phase 1 includes the construction of the sand ring. But just to walk you through what exists today, we have frontage along 121 currently. Again, these 2 pieces are going to be conveyed to our neighbor. We have our Fountainville Road frontage. There are 2 driveway entrances, one here and one I'll show you on the other site plan in a second that we're going to be maintaining. We have an existing stable and barn, which for phase 1 will remain, as well as our existing turnaround area and sand ring. And we're proposing to reconstruct some of the existing fields in this area, as well as this area into the sand ring and Grand Prix field. And the Grand Prix field is where the horses are staged while they're waiting to go onto the sand ring. It's also a general grazing field. That's what we want to do in phase 1 in order to get the site operational for Casey and Quinn.
Okay, and so this is, forgive my ignorance, when somebody says it's a sand ring, it's actually sand is the ground surface?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know if it might be something other. Okay, that's just regular sand.
No,
Okay.
it's those, the dirt sand rings that you and I typically think of. I'm not an equestrian by any means. But,
Yep, okay.
ultimately, what we're looking to do is that once they're on the facility, and this would come within about the next 18 months, is obviously we're not going to need the sand ring anymore, so we're going to eliminate it and regrade it out, and then reconfigure the paddock areas to ideally be suited for their horses. They want to reconstruct the stable and barn. Again, this is all in phase 2. Create a farrier house, which for taking care of the horses, and as well as formalize and create a manure storage building so manure is properly dealt with and managed. We did provide a horse management plan. Just to talk about disturbance, phase 1, which, again is here. Here's the first existing entrance. This is the second. They're going to be maintained. But in phase 1, we have 5.6 acres of disturbance. We'll phase that to standard DEC's 5-acre requirements. No wetland disturbance. There is 0.8 of an acre of buffer disturbance right in here. And again, this is in existing field area. We're not disturbing any natural buffer. There's 1/100 of an acre of steep slopes disturbance, no new impervious surfaces being created, and there's approximately 12 trees being removed. As we move into phase 2, there'll be a total of 9.6 acres of disturbance. Again, that's going to be phased to standard DEC regulations. We've provided a stormwater pollution prevention plan to address what we will be creating as far as impervious surfaces that's going to use subsurface infiltration, as well as an irrigation pond. You know, they do need water for the horses, for the paddock areas. There happens to be a lot of groundwater moving through this site, so it creates an opportunity for us to create somewhere where we can sustain a permanent pool and, you know, also help supplement our needs for irrigation. What we'll be constructing in phase 2 is, again, the stables. There's a hot walker. I mentioned there's also going to be a caretaker's house that's constructed on this portion of the property. We originally were anticipating constructing it here, but based on conversations with the neighbors, which Quentin Casey reached out to, we were asked to relocate it to this end of the property, which we're willing to do. And then we're going to rebuild the maintenance building, creating maintenance on the first floor and additional staff housing on the second floor. And that'll stay on the same footprint it's in.
Okay. Anybody else have questions before I? All right, so one of my questions had been, you know, I understand it's a residential road. There had been whether or not there's any access currently out to 121 on some of the properties that you intend to subdivide away, and whether that would be a better access point if you kept, you know, access out to 121. You know, and maybe even if you subdivided part of it, kept a route. So I don't know if there's anything there now.
I can respond to that.
Yeah.
When we purchased the property, it was a condition of the contract coming from the then owners that this conveyance to the neighboring property owners be made. We didn't have any control about retaining any access to it. We agreed to it because that was a condition of sale, so we don't have any ability to change that.
There's also, I know planning boards may not like that answer, but there's also...
That's why the lawyers give those answers, right? But the planner comes out as the good guy.
Yeah.
There also is actually, there's an existing stone wall that basically runs straight across.
Oh, okay.
And it is actually a really logical property line. As an engineer, I can tell you sometimes when we subdivide properties, it's done based on zoning, based on a lot of reasons that don't necessarily make the most sense when you're standing out in the field. There's an actual natural barrier that wants to be there to separate the two properties. And I have a feeling that was part and parcel why the previous owners made that decision.
Yeah.
I mean,
and of course, the prior Burstone Farm did not have access, I think, down to 121, if I remember correctly. And this is going to be really, really low volume of traffic, so we felt it still made it a good comprehensive plan for the site.
okay, because because I was going to say, even if you have to give it away, there's a way to get an easement across for, if that's, I understand you gave me the lawyer answer, and
Right.
Now I'm doing the planning thing and saying, but there's a way around it. No, so I'm not sure, but I think there may be concerns about traffic, and I just didn't know if there was an alternative, and if there was any old, less used dirt road out or anything. If you're telling me that's not feasible or something, that's okay. Sorry, Paul, did you?
No, it's fine. So what is the purpose of merging the lots?
Okay, simply from the point of view of what the original owners who sold to us wanted an ability to, I would imagine, obtain some additional consideration. And they wanted to know, could they take this property, sell it to the adjoining neighbor, and attach it to the adjoining neighbor's property? So that's why I'm saying, these are parcels, okay? We're not going to get any health department approval so as to create any new lots, because that would have been, I'm not saying that that's precluded. If they want to come to you in the future, then it's in your jurisdiction to determine whether or not that can subdivide them. We didn't restrict that to my knowledge. All I know is in our contract, we came here, we said we would do either a lot line adjustment, however you call it, or subdivide. but the purpose was to merge it onto that central lot, which,
So that center lot's owned by a different,
that's a co-applicant, Mr. and Mrs. Reed.
oh, okay, sorry.
Correct, and again, it was a contractual thing basically imposed upon us, and we're not really in control of it. But from a point of view of this application, it doesn't create any new lots, it doesn't do anything in terms of impacts.
Because the Reeds, who are the owners there, would
Correct.
merge all 3 lots.
Right. Yeah, that's-
All,
One big lot.
They're gonna erase the lot lines.
Right.
You're exactly correct, yes.
okay. Just sort of and I know this isn't a big deal, but we you basically gave us a business plan on your letterhead.
Understood.
We would really like a business plan on double H letterhead.
You'll
So
get
I know
exactly
you
what
can
you asked
do, I know copy paste is not that hard, so I don't think we're gonna.
Would I do such a thing? Come on.
No, okay. I think
We
this
will
is.
get that to you.
Right, that would be good. We're gonna have to do seeker on this, what,
Yeah, I'm just looking at that now.
And the other thing I just want to mention, Rich has already mentioned it, but it's part of your regulations for a riding academy that we submit that horse management plan, which has a lot of information in that I'm sure will be of interest to you, whether it's manure disposal, things of that nature. So that's already covered there.
right. And I did notice in your letter, it said you'd be building code-compliant manure storage.
Correct?
Does that imply in any way that today it is not code-compliant?
No, it wasn't trying to imply anything, it was simply to assure you it would be code compliant. Because I
Okay.
saw some regulations and this is how,
Okay.
and then I would make Rich do it, so it works
Right,
out fine.
right, no, but I wanted to be assured if we can that you're not in a non-compliant situation now. I think it's outside of the wetland and the buffer.
Yes?
Okay,
One other thing while Jan's looking that up, we also are going to be upgrading the septic systems. So we anticipate putting a new septic system in for the stable. We're also taking a look right now at what's in place for the maintenance building. We're planning on putting a new septic in for that. Obviously, need one for the caretaker's residence. We have done testing with the Westchester County Department of Health already, so that test has been completed.
okay.
Obviously, we'll have to do additional soil testing with Jan's office for the stormwater design.
And anecdotally, I understand that the stormwater situation right now is not great there. I haven't been out, I don't know, but I'll just, and you're gonna put in a new well.
We're going to drill a new well, because we want to make sure that we are far enough away from the manure storage, which is one of, which is.
Right, important, and all the septics, yeah. So I think Jan's memo mentioned this too, but that might not be, you might have to get 200 feet because it might be classified as a non-community, non-transit, transient, non-community.
Non-community, non-transient public water supply.
Right.
We are going to have less than 25 people on site.
Okay.
It is really going to be Casey, Quinton, and the 8 staff members.
Okay,
I will talk to Jan's office. I'm not sure that I'm going to get the health department to be able to say any more than if you're going to have less than 25 people, you're not a non-community, non-transient public water supply.
okay.
But the intent is it's based on, the potential to have 25 people, and they don't have to be the same people.
Right.
Visit the site.
Well, and that's, so you've kind of cleared it up by saying there's not going to be owners coming and riders coming and stuff. It's going to be the owners and horses that get trained, but not visiting people.
How close?
Just to clarify, an owner could come if they want to see how the training's going.
Right.
But it's not going to be.
There's not going to be to come
Yeah,
ride every.
Like, for example, a normal riding academy could have people coming every day to ride. That's
Right.
not what this is.
And that's
Sorry.
right.
How close are you to the reservation?
The reservation or the reservoir?
Reservation.
Let me double check. I don't know
Okay.
the exact distance.
I was looking at the secret list. In my memo, I indicated unlisted action. But as I'm going through this, again, there's a type 1 threshold for 10 acres of disturbance. And you said that you're 5+ on the first phase, and you said 9+ on the second phase?
Correct.
So we should look at that. See if that you're hitting that threshold. There's also goes down to 2.5 acres if you're in proximity to a open space or recreation area.
We'll have to check that.
So that's why I brought up the.
Thank you.
I didn't see any exemptions, just because you're in the ag district. There's exemptions for farm operations and like more farming. And
But I think there's also animal management in that.
So let's just.
We'll discuss that, because we were actually
circle up.
discussing that today, that there may be an exemption that we want to bring to your attention. I'll do a little bit
On
more
seeker?
research. Yeah, so
Okay.
we'll do a little bit more research and then discuss it with you.
Okay, but from a secret perspective, and this whole phasing thing, what will happen is, secret will be done on the entire project, phases 1 and 2. You'll be able to evaluate the entire project. You'll be required to evaluate the entire project. The SWIP will be done on the entire project. And
Has been
it's
done.
already done that way.
Right.
They've evaluated all the additional buildings and infrastructure that's coming along in phase 2, and they've prepared the SWIP as such. And then obviously the subdivision or lot line change will be evaluated at the same time. So, going through the process, you would end up, conducting seeker, coming to some sort of seeker decision, issuing, if you get there, presumably a stormwater permit, and then a subdivision approval, and a SWIP approval, and phase 1 site plan approval. And then sometime in the future, as mentioned, 18 months, perhaps they would come back for phase 2 site plan only. At that point in time, the SWIP will have been in place. Phase 1 will be underway or have been completed. The SWIP will be in place, and you're really just looking at the phase 2 site plan. So you might not ask for specific building elevations or floor plans with the buildings that are part of phase 2, or get down to the real nitty-gritty specifics with the phase 2 improvements. You'll get to understand what's happening in phase 2 so that you can evaluate impacts, but the details of those components would be brought to you at the phase 2 site plan review stage.
And our goal, just so the board understands timing, phase 1 is about a 3-month construction operation. 2 months to get the sand ring operational, 1 month to finish the grading around the rest of the perimeter. This is the scary part. Casey and Quinton obviously are coming up in May, and they are eager to get started on construction ASAP and try and have at least
Voice a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Casey and Quinton are absolutely eager to be able to get the sand ring in and potentially use it this season, which from a seeker perspective doesn't give us a lot of time. So if there's threshold issues, information you want, we're happy to get it to you as
Absolutely.
fast as we can.
Okay, well, I think, so, I know our Writing Academy code, I've read it recently, but I think we should refer this to the building inspector because, it sort of ends up, I don't know if there's an office involved in here, but it's certainly going to have housing for multiple people
It's like
in.
a bunkhouse. in some
What?
ways. It's like a bunkhouse in some ways, like a bunkhouse.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I would think they might make.
Let me, if I could, I'll read from your code. The definition of the Riding Academy, section 220-2B, a facility for the boarding, keeping, training, and showing of horses, and for the instruction of persons in the art of horsemanship, including boarding stables and breeding farms. The Riding Academy shall include such improvements as are necessary for the safety and welfare of the horses, the persons using or employed at the facility, and the general public. May include paddocks and other enclosures, stables, barns, and other storage buildings, riding rings, riding trails, residential facilities for the managers and employees of the facilities, and such other improvements as are customary or incidental to the use of property as a riding academy as determined by the approving agency. So your code covers all that.
Right, and so I'm confident that you wouldn't have brought this if you didn't feel it was code compliant.
Yes.
But that's why we asked the building inspector to just make sure that it's, so we'll refer it to him.
Sounds good.
And again, that way we have not just your word for it, but
Now
his.
I'm beginning to get a little.
I know.
Joking.
No, and so I think, like I'm going to say, so I think the code is pretty clear, but let's just ask
Sounds good to me.
for the building inspector to let us know if there's anything that's a concern. I don't know if there might be setback issues or something else that he will let us know about.
Sorry to interrupt, Janet.
No
but,
problem.
If timing is of importance, just throwing this out there, if there's any desire of the board to get comments or feedback from the fire department, maybe you consider that referral now too.
Okay, are you okay with that too?
Yeah. Okay.
Anybody? All right. I think it would,
I don't know if that's building department, but the comment you were mentioning about just access way on the residential road, now we're, putting in a lot more people to a one residential lot. You're taking 8 staff.
yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
if they can show just a traffic, probably it's perfectly fine, but just to make sure.
I mean, it might not be bunkhouses, it might be whole families of people living there, so I don't know what it looks like. I myself am not familiar with this, either the road or the facility, and I was wondering if other people might be interested in the site walk?
Sure, we'd love to accommodate you, that's fine.
Okay.
So when?
We typically do it this Saturday morning before our next meeting, which would be, I think that would be April 13th.
That would be this Saturday?
That would be this Saturday, so 9 o'clock-ish? Does that work?
Yeah, that's fine.
Would that work for you?
Saturday, the 13th.
April 13th, yeah.
Sure.
It's not a Friday the 13th, it's a Saturday. So what we will do, so again, just so, I think you know what a site walk is. We go out, we look, we won't make any decisions there, it's not minuted, but it's a way for us to observe, ask questions, and we'll come back and
Of
give a
course.
report the following time at that.
We'll make certain we have people there to guide you as necessary.
Yeah, and think, since all you're really doing at this point is grading and so forth, I don't, I think general descriptions, I don't know that you need to stake, exactly where things are. When we get to I don't know, when we get to phase 2, we might want to have another, but it doesn't
course.
sound like we're really there yet.
Totally understood. By the way, I just want to mention that Quentin and Casey wanted to be here tonight, but they are, as mentioned, in Florida. They were going to participate by Zoom, and I mentioned to them that
We don't have that capability.
that's what I said. But they wished to send their request that they could not be here.
Okay,
Also,
go ahead.
would it be appropriate to declare yourself lead agency for secret purposes tonight?
I'd like to know what type of action it is. I wouldn't, if it was unlisted, I wasn't even thinking of conducting a
Right.
coordinated review.
And
but-
it will be. Will be listed?
Isn't Pound Ridge the neighbor to the, I'm sorry, not Ward Pound Ridge Reservation, the
Oh.
neighbor?
To the east.
Who's, as we're looking at it, I guess it's the
Pound
up,
Ridge is on the right.
It's now formally Pound Ridge Farm LLC.
Yeah, that's not.
that's not the Ward Pound
No,
Ridge
it's not.
Reservation, no. I
But
thought
it doesn't necessarily have to be,
adjacent, it just has to be close. It is, I think it is pretty close.
So it's what's the distance, 100 feet or closer or farther?
it doesn't really give that type of specificity. But they might be over on the acreage anyway, we just have to figure out if,
I mean, if it's, if your code says it's in type 1, if you're over 10 acres, we're.
no, seeker says that, it's not it's the state
You're going to
regs.
state, yeah.
But you mentioned you thought you found an exemption.
We may have, yeah, exactly, with
I
respect to.
think the exemption applied, we were looking at the wetlands code, not.
Oh, was that
seeker.
wetlands?
Yeah.
But still, I want to look, so just in case.
Okay.
All right,
I mean, the only other involved agency you got the DEC, but that's for Speedy's permit. They're, you know,
Yep.
it's not like you're in a DEC wetland, and you got the health department, and they're only dealing with septic, potentially.
We have Pound
So it doesn't-
Ridge, but
It
they're,
doesn't hurt to do the coordinator review, but if it's type 1, we need a full EAF right now. We have a short, and we have to, which all could be handled.
I mean, that can go fast. What is Pound Ridge in here? They're interested, or,
Well, they're probably going to end up signing the plat, right? So-
Yes. We'll need we'll need a confirmation or a sign off
Yeah,
from Pound Ridge.
we've done that before with both boards signing.
so,
These separate lots?
These,
Separate lots, I think.
Yeah, they are, but
so quite often, what we've had to do, and I'll defer to the experts about why, but when we've had things that are essentially on or almost over the border, you know, or involve two towns, we've had signatures from the others, so,
It's a provision in our subdivision, right? So, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to check, 'cause I think these are separate lots, okay?
Okay.
So.
We'll look at it.
Exactly,
Yeah.
not a problem, Joe.
but, yeah, so, and if you do, it's, as someone who has been surprised by, you want me to sign it and I haven't seen it, you might want to just check with the Pound, you know, start any process with Pound Ridge.
No, that's great advice. We'll check, it's good that we're getting all these questions raised tonight, because we'll be able to research them and come to an agreement with Judd and with Jan, and then get back to you.
Okay,
I mean, if,
so we,
I don't know that it hurts to declare your intent to be lead agency. Between now and the next meeting, we can determine whether it's unlisted or type 1. If it's type 1, we'll have them submit
Do
the
a full
long
EAF,
form EAF, and
yes.
we'll circulate.
right. Okay, what do you think? I mean, if it doesn't hurt, I'm kind of,
Doesn't hurt.
Yeah, it doesn't,
all right. Motion? We do that by motion
I'll make a motion that we're lead agency for this project.
for the double H.
declare
That's
intent,
right.
yeah,
Declare intent, right.
declare intent.
Do we have a second? Bruce seconds, okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
So we are declared to be, the intent to be lead agency on this.
Thank you.
Anything else you want from us tonight?
An approval would be nice if you,
Nah,
okay,
it's the first day of spring, we can't do too much.
that's right, All right.
Okay,
I think it's- So
so,
we'll get you the business plan on double H letterhead, I know you want that. We'll
Yep.
speak with Jan and with Judd about the issues, and we'll get back to you very quickly.
and you're going to email this to Kirsten as well, this is the biographical
Oh, yeah,
information?
yeah, not a problem at all.
Okay,
I
and-
should have done it a long time ago.
I know, or, I mean, we could scan it, but,
I did
and,
send the application so far to my contemporary in Pound Ridge, so
So then,
she knows to expect something.
very good. Okay.
thank you, Kirsten. And we just, again, we agreed to refer it to the building inspector and to the fire department, and I guess that's the South Salem Fire Department there.
We should-
Okay,
We should just discuss who's getting the information to the fire department. Kirsten, do you have additional paper copies available?
I was going to reach out to Rich, and we have, Kevin's predecessors have done it different ways.
Yeah, so, yeah, we just need to discuss that internally. So long as we'll figure that out, so long as we have an
Just let
extra
us
set
know,
of plans.
we'll get things
May
delivered
reach
to
out
you.
Yeah.
Not a problem,
Whatever you need.
not a problem.
perfect. And so we will see you on April 13th.
Sounds great.
Not,
thank
maybe
you.
not you, we'll see the site on April 13th.
And maybe I might be there, we'll see.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
All right, thank you all very much, we really appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry, the next item on our agenda is a wetland permit review. This is calendar number 22-23, WP, calendar number 02-23, WV, the Mershon and Valencia residence at 1324 Route 35 in South Salem, New York, and it's for remediation of wetlands. Hello.
Yes, hi. My name is Fabio Valencia from 24 I'm Lina Merchant.
May number and check.
Yeah, we we finally got the plans from Tracy, and Young went to, and found some details that need to be reviewed, and so she's working on it. Some details on the wall support, and we're looking forward to the final result so we can start working. The time, I don't really have an idea of how much time we'll get, but I'm pretty sure I want to get rid of it as soon as possible. So as soon as we have the okay from Young, then we're going to start talking to my neighbors to take the lead on all the parts that have to be fixed. The planting of the bushes have to be by hand, and most of the rocks and things that next to the trees have to be by hand. So I've been working myself also to help remediate the plan.
So I think you told us you had talked to the neighbor and they were in agreement with what you were going to do?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, but we need a letter.
You need a letter?
It's,
Right. So you know about that, yeah.
Yes.
You need a letter from Rocco?
Rocco, yes.
Yeah, just because some of the work is taking place on this
No, I
property,
just
right?
wanted to know from which side you needed the letter.
Yeah, the
It's
temporary side.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
Yeah,
So-
we spoke to them.
Right.
Okay.
And so Jan, you've been through this. Are you comfortable now with the approach here?
Yeah, and I had a telephone conference today with Fabio and his landscape architect, Tracy Chalifo, and I didn't produce a memo for this, but I can tell you what my comments were, and they're pretty small. On the plan, there's an indication of a potential stacked boulder wall along the side of the driveway. That wall is necessary because they kind of stabilized the shoulder of the existing driveway and installed some rock fill that's extended onto the adjacent property that needs to be, and near the wetland, that needs to be pulled back. That's part of the remediation. And I think the only way you're going to be able to stabilize that is with the wall. So I asked Tracy to clarify her language on the plan to identify that as, proposed feature, and she's going to provide a detail for that. What were the other things?
The curve that you clarified to me that it should be in that.
Well, yeah,
angle.
the main, that very steep section of the fill embankment off the curve of the driveway is proposed to be 1-on-3, so 301, so that's good. And that is demonstrated in the grading plan.
And then the backfill, it should be like 10 to 12 feet moved back. So
Yeah, just trying to think of my comments to Tracy.
yeah,
I went over them on the phone. The plan's there. I think it describes the intent, and there's just some minor modifications that need to take place just to really to make it.
so the fence that she's planning is.
Oh, the letter from the neighbor. Yeah,
Yeah, the letter
The
from
letter.
the neighbor.
Right.
Yeah.
So would you be comfortable having this go admin, contingent obviously on getting the letter
Yeah.
from the neighbor and?
Yeah, a couple of minor modifications to the plan, unless the board has any other comments on the plan, we can incorporate those too. But I'm okay with it.
So
I would
we
just
do
ask
that,
if you could get the seed, because you promote a seed mix for most of the area, just what the mix is going to be.
Okay,
But
yeah,
I think
that's not specified.
yeah, I didn't see it. I saw all the other plans. I just didn't see the breakdown of what the seed mix is going to be. But I think it's fine.
so if you all agree, I'd look for a motion to move this to admin?
Yes.
All right.
Want to do the honors?
Yeah, sure. Or who's making?
I'll make a motion to
Okay,
move
thank
this
you,
to
Paul.
administrative review.
I'll
One-
second.
And Bruce will second. Okay, any further discussion?
That
Oh.
means,
Means you don't
just
have to
deal-
come back and
you
see
just
us
deal with
anymore, although you can, anytime you want, but you just work with Jan.
I
We'd
love
love
the
to see
fajitas
you.
and the horses.
Yeah,
Right.
you'll end up coming back.
You will come back for,
Once the work is done. The violation is still out there.
Yeah.
Once the work is done, you come back to the board and they finalize or adjudicate on the violation.
Thank you.
We'll just summarize it up.
But
Yeah,
I would
that's
need-
true.
One thing I'd ask the board, if you can just give me some guidance on the length of time. The wetland permits are by code typically good for 2 years. If you want to see something tighter than that, then I would ask the board for
What
some
are their
direction.
plans for that, for
Yeah.
getting it done?
Well, I think he's going to do the work himself, so I'd be a little more lenient with timing. You are planning to do it yourself, right, the work?
Yes, the reason is economic.
Economic,
And I love to work in my house.
right.
Yeah, he was saying that a month. I said, that is not gonna take a month. It's gonna, he's very positive and
Right.
optimistic.
I can work
I don't
24
think
hours.
a month. Not even, I'm not gonna move a rock because I
Right.
don't have I work
Yeah.
out, but I don't,
So,
I can't.
Not that kind of workout.
That's a different kind of work, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
Yes.
I don't know.
So why don't we just leave it then?
Leave it as
Yeah.
normal?
And they
Yeah.
finish it early, they finish, they
Yeah,
come back.
so,
Thank
because
you.
I think you're
Thank you.
interested in getting this done.
On the,
Totally.
but on the violation side, why don't we just pick a date out a few months? So it's on just for control, so we don't
October?
lose sight of it.
Okay.
October
Yeah,
is it?
October would be fine.
October?
15th.
October, maybe September, because if there's some items that need to be
Yeah,
kind of
kinda
buttoned up,
cleaned
we
up,
can have
yeah.
the end of the season to get things vegetated.
Yeah, I was thinking October was the end of the season. Okay, September 17th, we'll see you back September 17th?
thank you.
Okay, and, all right, so we made the motion. Did we?
Second.
You seconded it, did we actually vote? We started discussion, I think, so,
Take a vote.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all right,
Thank you so much.
thank you,
Good.
good luck.
Thank you.
So we'll see you strong, even if you know, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
You just
Thank-
cracked the whip, that's a lot of work.
Yes,
Okay.
that's what I'm gonna do, what I've been doing.
Okay.
Thank you, Jan, thank you, everybody, good night.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is calendar number 01-24 PB, calendar number 06-24 WP, and calendar number 02-24 SW, the mayor and residents? Rafe?
Yes.
Residents, 29 Todd Road, Katona, New York. Application for a septic expansion. Hello.
Yes, so good evening. My name is Greg Catriopoli, engineer on the project. I think the application may have actually been a little premature, but I guess I can tell you how we've moved forward so far and what our plan is.
Okay.
We did do soil testing with the health department today. I got deep tests in areas outside of the buffer because, well, first of all, the project is for a second-story addition, so same footprint, just going vertical with an addition. It's going to add bedrooms. So as a result, we're going to have to, the intention initially was to expand the existing septic. But then we are within New York State DEC regulated wetlands and obviously locally regulated. And now we are going to install an entirely new system and try and get it outside of the buffer, which is the rectangular hatched area, I mean the square hatched areas. So I did some soil testing in these areas, and I have a feeling that since space is restricted, if my design did have to slightly encroach on a buffer, we may need to come before you guys. So that's why I say it may have been a little premature. There's nothing that really you can,
Don't know yet.
I guess, discuss at this point until I do the percolation test and decide whether or not there's an actual encroachment.
Greg, was there a steep slope up in that area too?
Yeah, there's steep slopes all in here.
But not in the upper right?
No, the steep slope starts right here.
Oh, okay.
So my line goes up to it. And then we have like the 10-foot.
Yeah, so obviously, if you asked us if everything could fit, we'd prefer probably the one down lower, that's that's out of the buffer entirely, but, I know that you have to look at soil and,
Right, so I'm going to make every effort to put the entire expansion outside of the buffer, but I do have a primary and an expansion system to fit, so that's why I'm...
If you have to put the expansion up there. in the
Right,
top
with a little bit of encroachment if
Yeah.
needed. Right.
It's been the board's preference in the past, if there has to be some, make it the expansion.
right.
Let it be in the expansion area.
Yeah.
Right,
Okay, so has the health department come back at all, or just?
No, the DEC and the health department were there today. We did deep tests only, so we do not get the percolation rates yet,
Okay,
but we do have sufficient depth to
Okay.
move it so far outside of the buffer.
Water? Did you have water?
96 inches, so it was at the bottom of the hole.
If you keep it in that, the air, adjacent to the driveway, and you're going up just on the second floor, there's probably not going to be any wetland permits needed.
That's right, and that's what the goal will be.
the goal is not to see us. Sorry, we made you sit to the end to say, yeah. Okay,
So that's it.
so for now, I mean, again, if I think you saw the memo, if we had a preference, it'd be to keep it totally out of the
Right,
buffer,
that's what
but,
I'm gonna
okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
your time.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Hopefully, I don't have to come back here again. I
Okay.
understand the problem. Thank you.
Great,
Have a
thank
good
you.
night.
You too.
Good night. Okay, the next item on the agenda is a discussion to schedule a special meeting to review zoning changes to the town code. And we had talked about doing a separate meeting because there's actually quite a bit of change that's been produced. I had written Valerie a note, I do not see anything back though, to see if, I don't think it's essential if she comes, but it would be nice if the planning, the comprehensive plan consultant could be here. All right, so,
John?
oh, John, something is here, the hat?
Oh, yeah. Thanks.
He wants to get out while I get him, good. All right. So in preliminary discussions, basically, I think it would also be helpful to have Jan and Judd here, and Jan is booked every Tuesday, so I was wondering how Wednesdays were for you guys.
Depends on
And
when.
if we could look at a Wednesday. No?
It depends on when we start.
Okay.
Another league on Wednesday.
Well, the schedule is a little bit, I think we have some time because the town board has not yet gotten this and referred it to us, but I don't think we have to wait for their referral, if you're saying later is worse for you.
If we do it in the beginning of April, I'm probably, on Wednesdays are fine.
Yeah,
But
I
think mid to 8.
ultimately, the referral's gonna be made, and you're gonna have to look at it, but a lot of the, particularly in the zoning side, a lot of the text is out, and we can just kind of go through it.
Yeah, I've read through
Yeah,
almost
so that-
everything there now.
So that when the referral's made, the homework will have been done by way of a special meeting, so.
Right, so, all right, so when did you start?
I don't know yet, but, I would guess the first 2 weeks in April are fine. Probably the third Wednesday in April might be fine too.
So how does April 10th look for people?
If you don't want to play, right?
If there's an
Oh, that's
ACORD
it,
meeting,
Wednesday out.
that's
Yeah, the notice
accommodated.
if you don't want to play it.
Ah.
Because we meet here,
Okay, do you know when do they meet?
It just says
2nd?
8 o'clock start on April 10th.
All right, so how's April 3rd to people?
I'm okay with that.
April 3rd, something's supposed to happen.
Dam safety
Oh.
webinar. That's not you.
Yes, I
That's
know.
another one for me.
I haven't,
And it's at 7 o'clock. Do we have to do the same time, or are we?
No, I think we can do it.
You can choose.
When you're there, do you see somebody building it?
what time would, we usually do it later just because of everybody's calendars, but, so we could start at 7 and maybe,
On the
or
3rd, whatever time you want to start, I'm flexible.
what are you thinking?
I mean, anytime after 6,
Anytime.
just once I get out of work kind of thing.
Right.
So it's up to Jan.
7 is fine.
Yeah, it
It'll
would be
be
an
a
open.
regular agenda.
It's a regular, it would be a regular noticed meeting, everything.
Is that the 10th?
We're now thinking the 3rd. Okay. Okay, April 3rd at 7:30 still?
It's fine.
Or do you want to try, you want to try it at 7?
7.
Earlier the better for me.
Yeah,
Earlier the better?
Yeah.
6:30?
6:30 would be even better.
Yeah.
April 3, 6:30 PM. Okay.
Minutes.
So
Sorry.
I'm just going to say, remind me if I need to come help set up tables that day, because that's going to be a weird, a non-normal day, but we'll get to that. Okay. So then, and I think that is going to be just kind of we'll go through, talk about all of its changes. If we can get Valerie here, that would be helpful, but if not, Jan and Judd will give us enough guidance on that. Okay, the next item on our agenda are the minutes of February 20th. Look for a motion to approve those minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes from February 20th.
Okay.
I wasn't here till
You
the
weren't-
very end, so.
I'll second.
You'll second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Our next meeting date is April 16th, 2024, and we look for a motion to adjourn the meeting at 9:01. Sorry, the clock's here.
It was a half-hour meeting.
Right, you're right, 9:02,
I'll make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
okay?
I second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Got it. Okay.